Item number SCP-662 Object Class Safe Special Containment Procedures. SCP-662 should be kept in this red velvet-lined case and stored in High-Value Storage Locker 23C, located at when not being utilized for testing or other appropriate activities. The item itself is safe to handle and poses no known threats of any kind, though the effects generated could be considered highly valuable and variably powerful depending on how the SCP is used. Description: SCP-662 is a small, silver handbell, 4 cm tall and 2 cm in circumference. The bell is missing its ringer. Within the inside of the bell, an inscription has been etched into the silver, reading, "Forever Mine, SGW. The bell is susceptible to damage. However, given its safe nature, destruction has been deemed unnecessary. As it is made of very pure silver, it requires regular polishing to remain without tarnish. When the bell is shaken as if to ring it, a soft chime can be heard, although this does not come from the bell. A short, well-dressed Caucasian butler of self-proclaimed British heritage, calling himself Mr. Deeds, will appear from the nearest area not within line of sight, usually from around the corner. Mr. Deeds will address the ringer of the bell by their appropriate title and last name, and ask what it is they desire. His knowledge of individuals' last names and titles is a mystery, as he himself would purport. Please see interview log 662L1 for further details. Most reasonable requests given to Mr. Deeds will result in satisfaction. However, there are limits to what he can do. He is unable to produce very complex items such as sports cars, luxury homes, or personal jets. If he is allowed to leave line of sight and return, he is able to produce smaller, less complex items, such as a ham sandwich, a glass of iced tea, or even more luxurious items, like caviar or a brick of gold. A list of notable items the butler has thus far been able to provide to those who ring the bell may be found in Addendum 662A1. Mr. Deeds will also perform menial tasks, such as washing vehicles, preparing food, and cleaning bathrooms. If a request is deemed unreasonable or impossible by the butler, he will kindly tell the ringer so, and offer an alternative if one may be had. The butler is not immune to ill actions taken against him while inside. He has been killed or injured in multiple tests, and will remain either dead or injured until he is out of sight. Upon return with the ring of the bell, all previous injuries will have vanished, and he will be groomed and well dressed in his uniform, and ready for the next order. A more detailed explanation of the jobs he can perform and the limits to which he may be put can be found in the aforementioned interview log 662L1. Test logs relating to his ability to heal himself and those of the properties of the bell may be accessed by any level 2 or higher personnel. All attempts to catch Mr. Deeds disappearing have failed, as equipment will either fail or he will find a suitable unobserved spot. Addendum 662A1 Items and tasks requested and results. Nearly any conceivable kind of sandwich. Human flesh has been requested as lunch meat and politely denied. Beverages also nearly of any kind. As with sandwich meat, human blood has been requested and denied. Pig blood, however, has been served promptly, still warm. A brick of 99.98% pure gold. Mr. Deeds produced a brick of 99.14% pure gold and apologized for being unable to provide the requested purity. A brick of 99.24% pure silver. A nuclear bomb, politely denied. A hand grenade of modern US military grade, which performed as expected in testing. A blue 1963 Corvette convertible, politely denied. The board game Monopoly, which Mr. Deeds won on the first playthrough. A Fabergé egg, politely denied. SCP, politely denied. A bouquet of fresh picked red roses. A bouquet of wild turnbusties, politely denied. Turnbusty is not an actual known type of flower. Tasks: cleaning of Dr. Mirth's car, performed to near perfection. Washing of dishes accumulated from a day's worth of meals from the cafeteria on level of, performed to much higher standards than usual. Trimming of Dr. Mirth's hair, performed, but it turns out that Mr. Deeds is not in fact a very good barber. Washing of Dr. Mirth's laundry, performed and the clothing found to fit better in Dr. Mirth's estimation. Assassination of Osama bin Laden. Politely denied. Mr. Dietz claimed bin Laden was too well guarded and entrenched, but could not or would not give further details. Assassination of a D-class individual a room over. Performed with vicious precision, using a buck knife to the throat. Note: further tests with regard to Dr. Mirth's personal effects are to be forbidden unless approved by one level 05 officer. You've been warned, Dr. Mirth. 05. Interview logs. 662L1. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Mirth. How may I be of service?
Firstly, may I have your name?
Certainly. You can call me Mr. Deeds.
Is that your real name?
It is not my birth name. No, sir.
What would that be? And where were you born?
Unfortunately, I cannot remember my full name, sir. Nor am I positive of my birthplace, though I do believe it to be located in England.
Do you recall when you were born, Mr. Deeds?
I am truly sorry to disappoint again, sir, but I do not recall that either. Though it must have been some time ago, for I don't believe I was born in this era.
Can you approximate it?
Again, sir, I apologize for my lack of self-knowledge. I'm a bit of a shut-in, as you know.
What is the earliest mode of transportation that you can recall seeing a person or utilizing from the past?
Horse and buggy, sir. Although bicycles were just becoming a fad with the wealthy, if I recall correctly. Quite took off, didn't they, sir?
You needn't call me sir any longer. I appreciate it, but it's becoming a bit grating.
Very well.
Why do you suppose that you cannot remember these things?
I can't quite say.
Or is it that you may or will not say?
That may be the case, yes. Perhaps I may not say, though again, begging your pardon, I do not recall why this is.
Very well. Moving on, where is it that you go to when you fetch items for those that you serve?
Well, you see, I don't actually recall that either.
Why do you wince when I ask these kind of questions?
I do not know.
Never mind that for now. We'll get answers eventually. Now then, I have a request.
Very well. How may I be of further assistance?
I would like a glass of, iced tea. And grab a glass of it for yourself if you'd like.
What kind of iced tea would you prefer?
Surprise me.
Certainly.
What seems to be the problem?
I must leave your presence to do as you request.
Why is that?
It just is, Dr. Mirth.
Okay. Open the door, Agent Graves. Mr. Deeds left the room. He proceeded down the hallway under visual surveillance via camera and Agent Graves. He paused momentarily at another door, shook his head, looked up at the camera, and then at Agent Graves. Then, he ran down the hallway and rounded the corner. Agent Graves did not follow, as he had been instructed to remain on guard at the door of the interrogation room. Still under camera surveillance, Mr. Deeds proceeded quickly down the next hall and continued throughout the halls of the complex, presumably searching for an exit or area not under surveillance. Finally, he stopped halfway down Corridor 2D. At this point, all 3 cameras in Corridor 2D malfunctioned, including 2 that were hidden. Exactly 3 minutes later, the cameras resumed normal functioning, revealing Mr. Deeds standing in the same position, but with a tray holding 2 glasses of iced tea in hand. He then quickly made his way back to the interrogation room. Ah, you've returned. I was beginning to worry.
My apologies for the delay. Finding a way out was troublesome. But not to worry. I've brought the tea, just as you asked. I do hope you enjoy it.
What kind of tea is it?
Southern style sweet tea.
Quite good, Mr. Deeds. In fact, this is perhaps the best sweet tea I've ever had. Delicious. Did you make it yourself?
I do dislike disappointing you, Dr. Mirth, but I do not recall. I assumed that I did, but alas, my mind is not what it used to be.
You've only begun for About 10 minutes, Mr. Deeds. Are you telling me your memory is so terrible that you cannot remember what happened 10 minutes ago or the time between?
I recall looking for a way out, and I recall returning with the tea. But that is all.
But not how or where you acquired the tea.
Unfortunately, no.
Very well, I have another request.
As you wish.
I would like a bar of gold.
What percentage of pureness would you like?
99.98%, if you please.
That may be possible. Let me see what I can do.
We'll disable the cameras in the hall outside, and Agent Graves will wait in the interrogation room with me to make your trip a little faster this time.
Very much appreciated. Shall I?
Yes. Mr. Deeds exited into the hallway, where, despite what Dr. Mirth claimed, the cameras were not turned off. He paused for a moment, looked up at the closest camera, shook his head, and began traveling through the hallways of the complex as before. In corridor 2B, he paused, and once more all cameras, hidden or visible, in the corridor malfunctioned. Exactly 10 minutes and 37 seconds later, the cameras began functioning again, to show Mr. Deeds once again in the same position, with a bar of gold in one hand. He then returned to the interrogation room. It took a bit longer than last time. Any reason?
Well, it seems that the cameras in the hallway remained on, so I had to find a suitable way out again. I apologize for the delay. Also, I was not able to acquire a bar of gold to the pureness that you requested. But I assure you that this bar is 99.14% pure.
Very impressive. We will be testing it. I'm sure you know.
I did not know that you would, but it makes sense, I suppose. Will there be anything else, Dr. Mirth?
Yes. For your next task, I would like for you to acquire me a blue 1963 Corvette convertible.
I am quite sorry, but that is not possible.
Why not? I really want one.
Again, I cannot say why, except that I just know one cannot be gotten via my methods.
And what are these methods?
I do not recall.
Very well. I would like a Fabergé egg. Any will do.
Ah, well, regretfully, that is impossible as well.
And I suppose you cannot say why.
That is correct.
How about some caviar? Any brand or type will do.
That I can do.
Mr. Deeds once more entered the hallway outside the interrogation room. This time, the cameras were turned off after visual confirmation of Mr. Deeds' entry into the hall. 1 minute later, the cameras were turned back on, but Mr. Deeds had already returned to the interrogation room at this point. That was considerably faster, Mr. Deeds. It only took you 32 seconds, and the caviar is quite good.
I am pleased to hear it.
One more thing before we end this session, Mr. Deeds.
As you wish.
I request that you assassinate Osama bin Laden.
I'm afraid that cannot be done at this time, Dr. Mirth. Perhaps someone closer and less heavily guarded.
Very well. Let's make it the gentleman next room over.
Indeed.
Mr. Deeds once again entered the hallway. After visual confirmation, the cameras were momentarily turned off. When turned back on, they revealed the door next to the interrogation room down shutting. The cameras in that interrogation room showed Mr. Deeds entering the room with a large buck knife hidden behind one arm. Mr. Deeds approached the waiting D-Class personnel and deftly slit his throat with one quick motion of the knife. Mr. Deeds watched as the D-Class personnel went through the motions of death, avoiding their attempts to grab him. Once the D-Class individual was visually presumed dead, Mr. Deeds returned to the interrogation room from whence he came. The deed is done then?
Indeed. Here is the knife I used as proof.
Why could you do this thing but not the other?
I cannot say, except to note that I simply knew one was impossible, while the other was not.
So, you don't know how you know things like my last name or my title, or whether or not a certain task is possible?
That is correct.
Very well. I believe we're done here for now, but I do need to consult with my colleagues on some points. Please wait here until I return.
Certainly.
Dr. Mirth and Agent Grease leave the room. Dr. Mirth returns 2 hours later. Video surveillance shows that Mr. Deeds did not move during his interval. Mr. Deeds, my colleagues and I have had some disagreements about you.
That's most unfortunate.
We feel that these disagreements can only be resolved by examining you more intensely.
Certainly, Dr. Mirth.
To be specific, we would like to examine you internally.
Certainly, Dr. Mirth.
We would like to do an autopsy.
Ah, shall I kill myself for you? And since you will be examining my internal organs, do you have a preferred method of death?
Yes, if that's possible.
Certainly, it is possible, Dr. Mirth. Might I suggest having me cut my own throat so that I am exsanguinated? The buck knife from when I killed Mr. is still conveniently at hand, and although other methods are of course available, they would either take longer or damage my organs such that they are no longer accurately representative of my pre-mortem state.
I suppose that will be acceptable. Wait!
Yes, Dr. Mirth?
Before you do it, you will come back afterwards, correct?
I'm sorry, Dr. Mirth. I don't quite understand.
After the pawn shop incident when you were killed, you came back to life afterwards when Sergeant rang the bell.
If you say so, Dr. Mirth.
Will you come back to life again?
I have no idea, Dr. Mirth. If I did before, then presumably I will again, unless something has changed. Have you any further questions before I make the incision? I do recommend you step back, as I would hate for my blood to soil your clothing. Death throes can be untidy.
No, I suppose not. Carry on.
Very well, Dr. Mirth. And in the event I don't come back to life, it's been a genuine pleasure to serve you.
Mr. Dietz then sliced his own throat and bled to death. A post-mortem examination of the body revealed it to be ordinary in every way, though it is noted that Mr. Dietz was not suffering from any noticeable diseases or physical condition and was in fact in near perfect health at the time of death. The contents in his stomach consisted of Southern-style sweet tea, normal stomach acids, and no more. Mr. Dietz's body was then left on the operating table, while the lights in the room and cameras were turned off. All personnel left the room, and upon return, no trace of Mr. Dietz, be it blood on the instruments used or other physical traces such as organs removed, let alone the actual body, remained. Further ringing of SCP-662 resulted in Mr. D's reappearance after 3 minutes. He showed no signs of injury and was well dressed once more in a modern uniform, commonly worn by butlers. As expected, he could not explain how he had managed to survive. He was then ordered to give Dr. Mirth a full body massage, which he performed much to Dr. Mirth's satisfaction. Dr. Mirth claimed it was the best damn rub-down I've ever had. My back pain is completely gone. Acquisition Report. SCP-662 was discovered in the possession of a petty thief and grave robber in USA. The thief was in the process of selling SCP-662 to a pawn shop in the mentioned town when the bell was accidentally rung by the pawn shop attendant. Mr. Dietz appeared from the storage area behind the counter and promptly addressed the attendant. Believing that he was about to be robbed by 2 men, the attendant overreacted and managed to get a hold of a sawed-off shotgun from under the counter. Mr. Dietz was fatally wounded by the attendant and died on the scene. The thief escaped, but was apprehended by Foundation agents after a week-long search of the surrounding towns. Under questioning, the thief revealed that he found the bell in its box in the grave of located on the outskirts of the above-mentioned town. He was then remitted for D-Class personnel assignment and subsequently perished during testing of SCP. The bell did not come under the purview of the Foundation until after the crime and subsequent transport of Mr. Dietz's body to the local morgue. After the disappearance of the body from the morgue, an agent was sent to investigate the possible outbreak of SCP or other unknown necrotic reinvigorating cause. Mr. Dietz reappeared in the case file item storage room of the local constabulary. After the bell was handled by a sergeant, he was quickly apprehended and agent took him into custody 3 hours after reappearance under the guise of an FBI agent. When the handcuffed Mr. Dietz once again disappeared, the agent intuited that the bell itself may have something to do with the string of incidents, and after acquiring it and testing proved his hunch, brought the bell back to for further testing. Agent was awarded an official Foundation pat on the back plaque for his handling of the incident and lack of self-serving interest once he discovered what the Bell and Mr. Deeds were capable of.
By order of the Overseer Council, this file is subject to Level 4 classification. Level 4 clearance is required. Item number SCP-008. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-008 samples have been deemed Class 5 Extreme Biological Hazards, and all related protocols apply. Incineration and irradiation measures will be deployed in the event of political or military action which may result in the facility being dismantled, a power failure, or zero communications from operatives or outside channels during any given 8-hour period. The quarantine period for operatives leaving the facility is 4 months. If a breach has occurred, incineration and irradiation measures shall be deployed. It should be the policy of all G2 sites to not prepare an evacuation procedure. Description: SCP-008 is a complex prion, samples of which are stored in each of the known G2 sites. Research into SCP-008 is highly classified and primarily aimed at preventing research which may lead to the synthesis of SCP-008 in the distant future. Traits of the SCP-008 prion include 100% infectiousness, 100% lethality, transmission through exposed mucous membranes and all bodily fluids, not airborne or waterborne. Symptoms of infection with SCP-008 manifest no more than 3 hours after exposure and include flu-like symptoms with high fever, plus severe dementia in later stages. Coma onset approximately 20 hours after first symptoms appear and 12 hours after noticeable dementia. Coma onset will be considered onset of death. A period of sporadic cellular necrosis occurs which comes to resemble gangrene. Surviving tissue assumes its original function and is highly resilient. Red blood cells greatly increase oxygen storage capacity, resulting in slower blood flow and increased muscle endurance and strength. Nervous and muscular systems are unaffected by total organ failure for several hours. Metabolism may decrease to extremely low levels, allowing subject to survive for over 10 years without nutrition. High blood viscosity results in negligible blood flow from gunshot, puncture, and slashing injuries. Conditioned behavior, motor controls, and instinctive behavioral mechanisms are damaged, and cognitive abilities are severely retarded and erratic. Animals experience excessive brain necrosis and are inactive. Subject can adapt to its damaged nervous systems, but is limited to basic physical activities, including standing up, balancing on 2 legs, walking, biting, grabbing, and crawling. Subject will energetically move towards sights, sounds, and smells it associates with living humans. Subject will attempt to ingest living humans if physical contact is made. Neutralizing fully infected subjects requires significant cranial trauma. There is strong evidence to suggest SCP-008 itself did not form naturally on Earth, since variants of similar complexity would have displaced much of the ecosystem. In 1959, a short collaborative effort with the USSR to locate G2 sites and eliminate SCP-008 was negotiated following their discovery. The status of SCP-008 in Russian custody since collaboration ended is unknown. Addendum 008-1. SCP-500 has been found to be able to completely cure SCP-008 even in the advanced stages of the disease.
Item number SCP-1678. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-1678 remains only partially contained. Mobile Task Forces Tau 4 and Epsilon 6 have succeeded in establishing a defensible perimeter around the Hyde Park district of SCP-1678, with cases of SCP-1678-A largely ceasing their attacks on the perimeter of the Foundation-held area. A long-term research base is currently under construction, Mobile Task Force commanders are preparing an assault on the SCP-1678 Natural History Museum with the intent of capturing a forward command post in direct defense efforts. Current short-term aims involve the capture of an extension of the defensible perimeter to the SCP-1678 Natural History Museum and to research and to ascertain the origins, construction, and weaknesses of the SCP-1678-A entities. Long-term aims involve efforts to halt, hinder, or control the production of the SCP-1678-A entities, and to assault the SCP-1678 Houses of Parliament, where the being, entity, or intelligence responsible for the creation of SCP-1678 is believed to reside, and to capture and contain the aforementioned being. Description: SCP-1678 is a full-scale mirror image reconstruction of the British city of London, located exactly 1 kilometer underneath the original city of London. Currently, only the Hyde Park district of SCP-1678 has been explored, but all buildings, at least within the explored district, correlate exactly to their surface counterparts in terms of location, as well as the exterior size and shape, although rarely in terms of architecture, building material, and interior layout. The city has been constructed to resemble the city as it was in the Victorian era, with constructions designed to resemble traditional gaslighting prevalent on the streets, and with all the modern buildings to the original city of London being represented in the Victorian style of architecture, most notably the skyscrapers of the business district. Illumination is infrequent and unreliable, and it is unknown how SCP-1678 has acquired a steady oxygen and gas supply. SCP-1678 is believed to have been constructed instantaneously by unknown means, with the SCP-1678 Houses of Parliament serving as the epicenter for the construction process. This is evidenced by the fact that, as distance from the Houses of Parliament increase, there is an exponentially increasing frequency of flaws in the construction of SCP-1678, such as houses built entirely out of copper pipes or other unconventional materials, gaslights being little more than a metal rod topped with a floating orb of light, buildings containing no floors, and, at the farthest explored distance from the epicenter, no windows or doors. Aside from Foundation occupants in cases of SCP-1678-A, B, and C, SCP-1678 is believed to be uninhabited. SCP-1678 is believed to have been constructed with the intent to harbor the survivors of an XK-class end-of-the-world event. This is evidenced by an audio recording that will activate and play upon any person entering the city.
My fellow citizens, if you are hearing this tape, then the world as we knew it has finished. The sky has broken. The ground heaves with the tramp of terrible feet, and all the horrors and madness from the dark corners of the world have broken free to exact their vengeance on the world of man. Those who sought to contain them are killed or scattered, as we soon learn that to attempt to fight these creatures is almost invariably to face one's death. Billions have been slaughtered in their attempts to sate their endless appetite for death, and there is nothing, was nothing, we could do to stop them. Evil has raised its bloody flag upon all nations of the world, and crowned its unholy victory to the broken sky. Yes, this is the end, but there is a new home. Welcome to Un-London, a city of survivors, a city of the free. Together, fellow citizens, we will wait and prepare for the new beginning, the grand new world that is soon to come. Let the world above burn. We will endure. Let the monsters have their world. We will prevail. And let the ground tremble with a new Armageddon as evil consumes itself. For I tell you, citizen, upon the day of ruination of man, their insatiable appetites will turn them against one another in their endless lust for death. We will wait, and I tell you, citizen, that there will be a new morning, and you will emerge from Un-London and stand blinking in the sun, as our children play and laugh in the bones of horrors long dead. And you will walk hand in hand to the sea, our faces skywards, as the rising sun ushers in a new age of man. And you will gather, citizens, at my feet, as I summon un-London from its rest. And it shall burst phoenix-like from the ashes of the old. And on that day, citizen, there shall be a new order, as we raise the Union flag over the entire world. I welcome you to un-London, the last city and the first.
The following message is relayed on the end of every hour.
The time is 7 o'clock. All is well.
On approaching any bank or police station.
Citizen, you are entering a restricted area. Have your authorization papers ready. A Bobby will arrive to escort you shortly.
On being sighted by a case of SCP-1678-A.
Halt, police. Drop your weapons. Come now, let's be happy. Police, don't run.
Randomly, once per hour, the messages below are selected samples of the 1678 observed audio recordings.
No one is safe from the influence of mimetic beings. Have you assessed yourself today? You could be possessed by a mimetic horror and not even know it. Psych assessments are free. Visit an easy clinic today. Do you find light uncomfortable? Identifying a Cortex worm's infection early can make them possible to remove. Speak to your doctor today. Have you noticed anyone acting oddly? Tell a Bobby immediately. Crime will not be tolerated in un-London. I warn you, the tormentors of society will become its defenders. Evil can walk in human form and human flesh. Stay vigilant. Are you frequently anxious or depressed? It could be a symptom of the pattern screamer influence. Notify a Bobby immediately. Ensure that you are well rehearsed in breach protocols. There is no excuse for panic or confusion during a drill. Can't make ends meet? Don't be ashamed. Bryson's Home for the Poor is here to help. I rule in the interest of the many, not the few. There are no special privileges. Swelling and abnormal growths are an early sign of the slaver man's possession. Report any abnormal sickness to your doctor immediately. Each and every one of you is responsible for the safety of un-London and its citizens. Be watchful.
Most explored buildings within SCP-1678 appear to have been outfitted for the purpose of extremely dense inhabitation, with closely grouped steel bunk beds, a common feature in any building suitable for the purpose. Foundation researchers have advised that most explored buildings within SCP-1678 are unfit for human habitation due to a high preponderance of mold, damp, and poor construction within these buildings. Some buildings are outfitted for other purposes, most notably the SCP-1678 version of the Natural History Museum, which is featuring an exhibit titled The Fall of Man and contains representations of several known SCP entities and images and artwork depicting apocalyptic settings. The key threat posed by SCP-1678 is by entities referred to in some SCP-1678 audio recordings as Bobbies. Bobby is known to be a Victorian-era British slang term for policeman, henceforth referred to as SCP-1678-A. These entities are constructed out of human corpses crudely dismembered at the head, wrists, knees, and elbows, and reassembled using simple industrial hinges and screws. The head is always wrapped in bandages. They are dressed in uniforms similar to Victorian-era police and are extremely hostile towards Foundation personnel, attacking them on sight with improvised weapons. These attacks are always preceded by SCP-1678-A emitting a noise similar to that of a policeman's whistle, and all loudspeakers within 100 meters emitting the audio recording "Police Halt Criminal." Instances of SCP-1678-A are extremely resistant to damage, with only high-caliber rounds and explosive weapons proving sufficient to destroy them. They are believed to originate from a building named Bryson's Home for the Poor, as evidenced by an inmate-style jumpsuit worn under the uniform. To what extent they interact with other SCP-1678 entities is unknown. cases of SCP-1678-B are biomechanical constructs which resemble that of a small avian life form. They are composed of a central mass of a red organic matter stitched together by a copper exoskeleton that resembles a spine and wing bones. The head has been demonstrated to be a small video camera, and remnants of feathers and plastic on the exterior suggest they were once intended to resemble a pigeon. Cases of SCP-1678-B are known to possess no offensive or destructive capabilities, yet their ability to track task force movements should not be underestimated, as it is currently unknown if they are capable of communicating with or summoning cases of SCP-1678-A. Cases of SCP-1678-B are relatively simple to contain or destroy, yet their large numbers make their observation of Foundation activities extremely difficult to stop. Occasional posters throughout the Foundation explored area allude to their existence. These posters display an image of a small pigeon observing criminal activity beneath the title "Unlondon's Eyes in the Sky," alongside a small message to the effect that anyone destroying or vandalizing an eye in the sky faces up to 6 weeks in the unit. Cases of SCP-1678-C resemble a humanoid figure dressed in rags. They appear to be of old age and are usually, although not always, female. They have always been encountered outside the Foundation-held area. There have been very few direct encounters with the SCP-1678-C entities, and it is currently unknown how many cases exist or to what level of threat they pose to Foundation security or safety. Encounters typically feature cases of SCP-1678-C sitting on a street corner with a begging dish, whereupon they will attempt to attract the pity or mercy of any Foundation personnel within their proximity with pleading or begging for food or money. Supplying a case of SCP-1678-C with food will cause them to begin weeping before dematerializing with a burst of dense black smoke. Foundation personnel are currently under instruction to not interact with them. They are briefly alluded to in an SCP-1678 audio recording.
Do not pity the wretch. Allow them to pay the price for their betrayal, for all eternity. Remember, citizens, on the day London rises, I shall reward the loyal, but traitors shall be forever damned.
SCP-1678-D is believed to be the primary food source on offer in the event that SCP-1678 receives full-scale occupation. SCP-1678-D is freely and easily available from steel vending machines installed in virtually every building or structure outfitted for the purpose of habitation. The vending machines are upright steel pumps, similar in size and shape to that of a modern petrol pump, containing a slot for the receiving of coins and a flexible rubber hose, ending in a trigger-operated nozzle that will deploy half a liter of SCP-1678-D upon the appropriate payment. All vending machines display the legend Dr. Goody's Wonder Food, alongside an image of a smiling child enjoying a bowl of SCP-1678-D and text bubbles advising that SCP-1678-D costs just a farthing a bowl, that it contains all the nutrients you need, and completely restores health and vitality. It has proven to be extremely attractive to cases of SCP-1678-B, C, and an unknown species of colored mollusk, which has been observed feeding on any spillages. SCP-1678-D is a synthetic starch gel, heavily enriched with various minerals, vitamins, fats, and bulking agents. In addition to this, it contains several unknown molecular structures and various engineered DNA helixes carried within synthetic cellular structures. It has the same consistency and taste as porridge. As advertised, it contains all the nutrients necessary for short-term survival. However, Foundation researchers have advised that over a period of more than 6 weeks, users of SCP-1678-D will become dangerously underweight due to low levels of fat and protein within SCP-1678-D, and are at strong likelihood of contracting illnesses such as scurvy if survival is attempted by consuming SCP-1678-D alone. SCP-1678-D appears to be purposely engineered to manipulate the psyche of regular consumers. Through a mixture of unknown molecular compounds, regular consumers are more obedient to authority, are less likely to commit acts of violence, are less likely to engage in sexual intercourse, have a reduced capacity for fear or panic, and have consistently high moral. In addition, it has also engineered side effects such as depressive symptoms and headaches if a subject suddenly abandons consuming SCP-1678-D. Due to the difficulty of creating food with an SCP-1678, SCP-1678-D would serve as the primary food source in the event of large-scale habitation. Foundation personnel are forbidden to consume SCP-1678-D even in small amounts. Not all vending machines produce SCP-1678-D to the same quality, with some machines deploying corrupted forms that have induced severe mental or physical abnormalities or death within the consumer. It is currently unclear what entity, being, or intelligence is responsible for the creation and maintenance of SCP-1678. It is unclear as to what event or disaster SCP-1678 is being prepared for. Item number SCP-750. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-750 presents no threat unless applied directly to a human eye, and so shall be kept in Dr. Langley's office until all relevant tests and studies are completed. All instances of SCP-750 are to be removed from the previous user after testing has been completed, whereafter they are to be cleaned and returned to the included case. Description: SCP-750 is a group of 24 contact lenses designed presumably to correct myopic or hypermetropic vision. When a pair of SCP-750 is applied, they attach to the cornea and become unable to be removed physically by the wearer, though others can still remove them. Users of SCP-750 report an immediate blurring of their vision after application, followed by a period of extreme dizziness. When the user recovers from this daze, they describe a change in perception. This change seems to worsen with time, and prolonged exposure to the object will cause their wearer to permanently suffer the noted effects of SCP-750 even when the item has been removed from the cornea, in addition to affecting the wearer's sense of touch, smell, hearing, and taste. The only method of treatment at this point is to sever the optical nerve to the affected eyes. Personnel exposed to SCP-750 have reported the following alterations to their vision: man-made walls, ceilings, and floors being covered in a substance described similarly to biofilm. The sky being a dark red color, with clouds always appearing to be black. Food items instead resembling a collection of dismembered human limbs, organs, and viscera. Visions of small insects emerging from pores on their skin. Viewed written language becoming an unidentified language. Works of art changing. Paintings depict violent scenes from human history, and statues become depictions of unworldly creatures, not identifiable with any known species. In addition, those affected will react with violent revulsion to other human beings, as well as ignoring any attempt to engage in interpersonal conversation or communication. Prolonged exposure to SCP-750 can and has resulted in schizophrenia, PTSD, dissociative identity disorder, and antisocial personality disorder. Addendum: SCP-750 was discovered by Dr. after he ordered a pair of X-ray specs from a back page in an issue of magazine, and instead received a case containing SCP-750. The case also contained a page of instructions, which are transcribed below.
Hey true believers, thank you for ordering your new amazing Several specs, fresh from your friends here at the factory. Included within is your purchase, a lifetime guarantee, and a phone number to contact us should your friends get jealous and want the same power you've got now. Wondering exactly how your new eyes work? Simple. Just take one of the included lenses and get a real good and close to your old peepers. Your new purchase will take over from there on out. Have fun! Wow! Amaze your friends with new ability to see through their lies. Zippy! Show off at school. No teacher can hide anything from you anymore. Amazing! Discover secrets. Find hidden treasure. Know the unknowable. Anything is possible for you now. Refunds not guaranteed. Warning, gazing directly at the truth may cause you to reconsider your miserable existence. Use with caution.
Note: the phone number and guarantee mentioned above were not included in Dr. ordered case. Item number SCP-940, Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. All non-samples of SCP-940 larvae are currently in containment. Systematic purging of SCP-940 adult samples from civilians is currently, as of, being spearheaded by a combination of Area 14 research personnel and Mobile Task Force Omicron-7, or KIN. Samples of Foundation strengthened see documentation regarding Agent Blue are in the process of being added to commercially available insecticides, which is expected to prevent any more wild strains of SCP-940 from arising. All SCP-940 infectees are to be treated as Class 4 biohazards and are to be contained and transported under heavy sedation to Area 14, or otherwise terminated. Deceased bodies infected with any SCP-940 strain, regardless of developmental stage, are to be incinerated. Description: SCP-940 is a parasitoid organism with some superficial similarities to troglobitic members of the class Arachnida. Adult specimens are highly agile and possess leg spans from 4 to 7 meters. Due to the difficulty of separating SCP-940 from their hosts, see below, average weight and body size are moot considerations. Each of the 8 translucent legs is dotted regularly with 6 types of specialized sensory organs: IR-sensitive pit organs, ampullae of Lorenzini, compound and non-compound eyes sensitive to UV, and 2 additional organs of indeterminate function, and enlarged tarsal claws, possessing scapulae and sachels common among species of hunting spiders, and allowing them to climb sheer vertical surfaces with ease. SCP-940 possess a radial nerve net similar to Asteroidea or the common starfish, and no central nervous system. The possibility that SCP-940 rely on the host's brain power for processing of external stimuli cannot be ruled out at this time. Infection occurs following exposure to body fluids containing SCP-940 eggs and larvae. The life cycle of SCP-940 from initial infection to maturity is as follows, documented by Dr. Stage 1. Infection occurs with exposure to bodily fluids contaminated with SCP-940 eggs and/or larvae. While larvae at this point are too small to be seen by the human eye, microscopic testing has revealed eggs are typically no larger than 3 to 5 microns in diameter. The only stage of its life cycle with many organ systems necessary for survival prior to integration with a host possess leg spans from 7 to 70 microns. As documented here, infected culture of human blood containing parasite eggs. Eggs noted in circles. Stage 2. The first SCP-940 larvae to hatch will begin cannibalizing any unhatched eggs, then each other, in order to ensure only one larvae develops into an adult within a given host. Hosts will often complain of abdominal and chest pains at this stage. Note: cases of as many as 5 larvae reaching maturity within a single host, though rare due to competitiveness between larvae for a host and the enormous strain placed upon the host's body, have been documented. See Incident 940-01, Subject 04. Ultrasound of hatched parasites in carotid artery. Larva noted in circles. Stage 3. The remaining SCP-940 larva migrates to the chest cavity, typically attaching to a major artery, the heart, or spinal cord, positioned with its legs oriented toward the host's back. Internal organ systems of the larva begin atrophying. Death caused by severe heart infestation. Subject died of a stroke caused by breakdown of internal body, consistent with transition to Stage 4. Stage 4. The carapace of SCP-940 larva's body breaks down. Legs remain intact. The circulatory system of the larva conjoins with that of a host, as does its nervous system, though to a lesser extent. The larva begins producing a number of enzymes which cause the host's body to increase production of a number of hormones, including human growth hormone. Earlier abdominal and chest pain subsides. The host experiences an increase in appetite and general listlessness. MRI image of parasite bonded to abdominal aorta. Stage 5. Approximately 3 weeks after initial infection, SCP-940 begins to alter serotonin and dopamine levels in the host's brain, causing hosts to experience feelings of happiness and well-being. The legs of the larva, now supplied blood and nutrients by the host's circulatory system, begin to penetrate the skin of the host's back. Hosts typically do not report any discomfort or alarm at this and rarely seek treatment. Lack of parasite beginning to penetrate bag. Stage 6. Approximately 5 weeks after initial infection, SCP-940 reaches full size and maturity. Hosts are secretive about their condition. A form of communication is believed to occur between SCP-940 and its host. For example, hosts have displayed a vague awareness of things occurring behind them. SCP-940 specimens often retract their legs, folding them flat against the host's back, allowing them to be concealed with relative ease by clothing. Additionally, SCP-940 triggers an increase in the levels of testosterone in the host's body, leading to increased libido. Infection of new hosts is facilitated through contact with bodily fluids contaminated with SCP-940 eggs. This is typically accomplished via coitus with an infected host. Infected semen sample recovered from exposure during Incident 940-02. Eggs are generally invisible in female vaginal fluid. See report 940-01-04 and -05 for more information. Stage 7. All infected individuals that have survived 6 weeks of infection are considered to be in Stage 7. Stage 7 infectees report the loss of a sense of individuality, gradual clouding of the eyes leading to loss of eyesight and culminating in near total blindness, and bouts of catatonia and catalepsy. Death is typically due to aneurysm caused by skyrocketing blood pressure, heart or kidney failure, or exsanguination. Infected at this stage can be identified by the strange choking sound they issue as they attempt to draw in more oxygen than is possible. When the host biologically dies, SCP-940 will continue to animate the corpse by means of its limbs, entering a berserk state. In this state, SCP-940 will attempt to reproduce and infect with no regard for concealment, generally inflicting physical violence and blood transmission to do so. This state can last from 1 to 3 days before SCP-940 expires. Treatment with intravenous anti-parasitic compound is possible if administered prior to infection advancing to Stage 3. Addendum: Stage 6 and above adult SCP-940 samples, when not attempting to conceal their identities, are extremely agile and capable predators. For the use of their powerful limbs and multiple sensory organs, they are highly adept at evading capture. Field agents are to be highly cautious and equipped with MOB 4 gear at all times to prevent infection, and Foundation-issued nerve gas grenades for suppression purposes. Incident 9401. On Assistant Researcher failed to return a live sample of SCP-940 larvae to cold storage, instead allowing the sample to remain unattended in the lab for approximately 45 minutes while on lunch break. The resulting breach of containment resulted in 7 SCP-940 infections amongst research and security personnel, and another 5 in D-Class personnel. The affected wing of Area 14 was isolated for decontamination, and affected Foundation personnel administered intravenous antiparasitic compound. All received treatment within 6 hours of infection and made full recoveries. Infected D-Class personnel were isolated for observation so as to establish a progression of SCP-940 infection and determine for how long it remains treatable. Observations of subjects D-9401, D-9402, and D-9403 form the basis of the infections given progression above. Subject D-9404 is the only infectee that did not follow the above reported progression due to multiple larvae reaching maturity. D-9404 was terminated 3 weeks into the process when the accelerated symptoms resulted in a progression to Stage 7, completely bypassing Stage 5 and 6. Subject D-9405 was initially believed to be unaffected, displaying no symptoms of SCP-940 infection. After 3 weeks, a full examination found SCP-9405 to be pregnant. The unborn fetus was infected. The fetus, SCP-9406, was allowed to mature. D-9405 was kept unaware of its condition. Both expired when the legs of SCP-940 penetrated SCP-940-5's uterus. SCP-940-6 is preserved, kept in cryogenic storage at Armed Biocontainment Area 14 for study.